This really is truly a historic moment for the state of Maryland.
Senate President Bill Ferguson says as the four-year term begins, the state is at an important crossroads.
For the first time in many decades, every constitutional officer that we have in the state will be new. And for the first time ever, all of them will be either a woman or person of color. And it is a truly remarkable feature that in one election, we can have such a changeover and a new diverse representation in a moment after a once-in-a-100-year pandemic where we have resources to invest, where we have a lot of uncertainty but lots of hope. It's just an incredible moment in time, and I just feel very blessed to be a part of it and hopefully lead effectively through it.
Ferguson calls the 90 days ahead a refresh session after the challenges lawmakers faced with the pandemic.
I can feel the excitement. I'm excited about the new leadership team that we've put together in the Senate. We have two new committee chairs, two returning committee chairs of our standing committees, our four policy standing committees. Incredible leaders in the Senate. We've expanded our supermajority this year and added 2 seats in the Senate.
Democrats may have more seats in the Senate, but Ferguson says everyone's voice will be heard.
The Senate is a very unique place, and it's such an honor to serve here because every voice matters. And I think it's really important. While I'm thrilled that we picked up 2 new Democratic senators, I will say, in the Senate, we represent the 6.5 million Marylanders. We don't represent just Democratic Marylanders or just Republican Marylanders. We represent the entire state. And I think as state senators, we really try to embody that approach, that we come from different areas. We have a very diverse state. It's people, it's geography, it's economy. And we need to have every voice as part of the table, and we really strive for that value to be front and center in the Senate, and it will continue no matter what the number balance ends up being at any point in time.
One of Ferguson's top priorities, workforce development. A recent U.S. Chamber of Commerce report found that Maryland has just 76 workers for every 100 jobs in the state.
This area of workforce development, I think, is actually where I have a great deal of excitement. I am thrilled to tackle this area because it's going to be building new systems. The world has changed. The economy has changed. What skills people need to do their jobs has changed and is moving faster and faster. Our system for developing people and getting them the skills they need has not caught up. There are other places across the globe, Germany, Switzerland, where apprenticeships are not just in the trades, they're in every industry. So you can learn and earn at the same time. You're learning skills, you're getting credentials along the way, and by the time you finish your apprenticeship program, you are ready to go in a highly upwardly mobile economic opportunity, a job that has real movement. We have not built that system out. The trades have done a great job. Electricians, our iron workers, our pipe fitters, they've created great programs, and we've seen how that has helped people move into the middle class. We've not figured out ways to have apprenticeships in other industry sectors. And so we have to build that structure. And I think this year we're really going to focus on trying to build an employer-driven system of apprenticeships in industries that you wouldn't traditionally think of in the United States of using apprentices.
There's one big change for the legislature this year, and that's the budget process. Until now, the governor appropriated the funds the legislature could only cut. That changes with this session.
If we had a priority, let's say we wanted to invest more in education or more in health care than the governor had initially put in, legally, the only thing we could do was force or mandate funding for the out years. We couldn't do it in a single budget year. What that led to were a lot of mandates over time, because if the governor had a different set of priorities, the legislature had its input by saying, well, we won't appropriate it this year, but we're going to force your hand in future years. Those mandates create costs in the out years and create a structural imbalance. And so financially, it was not good for the state of Maryland. Now, each year, there's a negotiation between the governor and the legislature about what are Marylanders' priorities, where should we be putting our public dollars. And we won't just have to cut, we will have the ability to cut and then put it in a place where we think is the right place for Marylanders who believe that we should have an equal power as the governor.
Another top priority for the Senate president, expanding health, especially mental health services, in the wake of the COVID pandemic.
I think young people and children were without a doubt the most impacted. And we're seeing that, unfortunately, in hospitals where the number of crises with young people who have severe depression or severe anxiety has just skyrocketed. And unfortunately, young people are waiting oftentimes days in hospitals in order to get a behavioral health bed. And so we have to expand access for kids who are in crisis, for anybody that's in crisis, but kids who have been most acutely impacted.
Ferguson says the pandemic has also had a lasting impact on how the legislature operates.
There are things that now seem so commonplace that only came about because of the pandemic circumstances. You know, things like electronic testimony that will now forever be accepted. The way that the committee's structure functions and the live streaming of the Senate floor. We are now just about to release a plan for having virtual testimony in Senate committee hearings. So last year, the House was fully virtual, the Senate was fully in person. We didn't have the technology to be able to integrate the two. Over the interim, we've been working with our information technology department to have a hybrid system. There will be limits so that we don't have sort of filibuster by testimony in committee hearings, but we will have a virtual access platform that will be able to be streamed.
Ferguson says lawmakers are ready to move forward.
It's going to be a great year. I just, with a new leader in Government House, the Speaker and I have some tenure under our belts. It's going to be a great, fresh start for the state of Maryland and the General Assembly.
In Annapolis, Sue Copen for State Circle.